Mr. Eduardo Paredes,
Thank you.
diplomatic envoy of the National Assembly of Venezuela to Greece. Mr. Paredes, we are at the 23rd roundtable with the Greek government about Europe, of The Economist, of course. And I would first like to ask you, how do you feel that the Greek government, the new government, has acknowledged Γκουαϊδό as the official president of Venezuela, along with the EU, of course?
Yes. Well, thank you for this opportunity. I feel extremely thankful. I feel very thankful, and I'm sure Democrats in Venezuela and around the world also feel the same. The issue of Venezuela has become an issue about democracy, about people being able to express themselves freely, and Greece is standing, as you said, with the EU and other Western Hemisphere countries on the right side of history on this issue. And again, we feel thankful, we feel very humbled that the birthplace of democracy is now standing precisely with modern democracy in Venezuela.
Could you give us a few details about what was discussed between and what was agreed between Prime Minister Mητσοτάκη and President Γκουαϊδό regarding corruption?
Sure. Well, it was a private phone call, even though there's some issues that have already been it's out there in the media. Definitely, the two legitimate governments are discussing the possibility of cooperating. For Venezuelans, we've seen in the past that corruption, as you mentioned, is a very important issue, and we believe that the recovery of assets of Venezuelans, it's a top priority for us to be able to rebuild the country, to be able to reiterate the importance of rule of law. And with Greece in particular, this is one of the issues that the two governments will be cooperating from now on.
How difficult do you think that reiterating the rule of law is at this specific period of time?
Well, it is extremely important precisely because President Juan Γκουαϊδό is following a mandate of the Venezuelan constitution. I think it allows for the region to be more stable, more peaceful, and for relationships between states to be more long-term based when it's done precisely under those parameters. When it's done for political gains or for political partnerships, the relationships at the end tend to be strained. So I think under a fair game, under transparent rules, I think the people of the countries tend to gain from this, and this is what we aspire. Our diplomatic efforts are in this direction, extremely transparent, and that goes into collaborating and cooperating in any corruption issues that could have been discussed or be part in the past of our two countries.
I would like to ask you, how do you visualize, my first question would be, how do you visualize the future of Venezuela in the coming 2-3 years, let's say? And how do you see the future happening? How do you think that the situation will be in the next 2-3 years?
Well, it's impossible to talk about the future without talking about the current situation and the current humanitarian crisis that Venezuela is going through, with a 10 million% projected inflation, 10 million% projected inflation. The numbers in terms of scarcity, almost 23% of children cannot eat more than 2 times a day. We have over 580 political prisoners. That is the situation now. You're seeing also a massive flee and exodus of Venezuelans leaving the country. Already projected 4 million currently by the UN refugee numbers. 5 million by the end of 2019 and projected to be 7 or 8 million at the end of 2020. So the crisis is there. This is what we're inheriting. I think towards the future, I am very optimistic despite this tragic humanitarian crisis that the Maduro military regime has caused. I am extremely optimistic because I see that the political players are coalesced, all forces, all democratic forces, regardless of ideology, are coalesced behind a democratic future. I think there is a young generation that is getting involved. I am myself an example of that. We understand the importance of human rights because we've suffered it, but we also understand the importance of being an open market, an open economy, an economy that respects the rule of law. And all the talent that's out there in the Venezuelan diaspora is getting involved on the Venezuelan issue, politically, commercially, in many ways. So for that reason and the energy that is behind the democratic forces right now, I do believe and I foresee a very prosperous future for Venezuela.
In order to conclude, would you like to send a personal message to the Greek people?
Yes, my message to the Greek people would certainly be to stay informed about Venezuela, to be supportive, on a micro level, on an individual level, when they meet the Venezuelan, to be humanely supportive of them, of their cause, because right now we're going through very, very difficult times. Venezuelans are going through very difficult times, and again, there's no greater people to be supportive of democracy than the Greek people.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.
Good luck to the future of your country.
And thank you to your people as well.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.